Hello and welcome to the What's New webinar. The goal of this webinar is to catch you up on all the latest product updates and product releases. The goal is to catch you up on what's new from Zendesk. So before we get into the product updates, just a quick few introductions here. So my name is Jeremy Corman. I am a former tech support engineer. I've answered hundreds of emails and hundreds of phone calls before I worked at Zendesk. And now my goal is to help customers like you take advantage of our customer service software. I'm also joined by my co-host, Thomas. Thomas, do you want to introduce yourself?
I am Thomas Verschoren. I'm recently joined Zendesk this fall, but I've been a long time Zendesk partner before. Joined the product team to write about our product and talk like we do today.
Awesome. We're so excited to tell you about all the things related to what's new. And here's a little agenda of what we have covered for you guys today. So first up, we have our marquee topic. So there have been so many updates related to knowledge over the past month, even over the past year. We wanted to summarize all those updates and catch you up on what's been happening with our knowledge topic. After that, we're going to jump into the second portion of the webinar. This is going to be our rapid fire section. This is going to be quick hits, lots of product updates back to back, and I think you're going to love it. By the way, one housekeeping item. If you have any questions during the webinar, please drop them into the chat. We have some product experts standing by who will do their very best to answer your questions. With that, let's jump into our marquee topic of knowledge. So, Thomas, this is something you and me have been talking about for a while because knowledge is just so important for customer service teams. If we think about what's happened over the past month, even the past year, knowledge has changed a lot. When I think about knowledge, a year or two ago, knowledge really to me meant a help center, and a help center is really a destination. That's where people would go to say, hey, I have a question. I want to go to the help center. I want to search for an answer. But the way knowledge is being used today has changed a lot. So can you tell us a little bit about your thoughts on knowledge? What is driving the change and how are customer service teams using knowledge so differently today?
Yeah, so Zendesk is, always been an omni-channel solution. So we have messaging, we have social, we have voice, we have email, we have the web. And traditionally, we would write that knowledge for each of those channels specifically. But thanks to AI, thanks to LLMs and all the product features we put into the product, which you'll see later, more and more we see that the help center is not just the way people interact with our knowledge, but it actually feeds into our entire automation engine. So any customer interacts via AI agents, or he goes to the help center with quick answers, or agent Copilot that helps our agents. All of them are like little pieces in our resolution platform that are driven by knowledge. So it's not a destination anymore, but it's actually a core layer of your infrastructure that drives your automation rates and your resolutions.
Yeah, it's a small change in how we think about it, but it's really impactful. Knowledge is not just a destination anymore. Knowledge feeds every part of the customer service platform, whether it's helping your agents, whether it's helping your human teams or your AI agents. It feeds into every part of a customer service interaction. But Thomas, I know it's not just knowledge that you need to actually give someone a resolution. And I think you've come up with a great framework for how to think about this. So can you tell us what are all the things you actually need to bring together to help drive resolutions for customers?
Yeah, so actually at Zendesk, we say there are three big parts you need. Knowledge is the easy one. Well, it's not easy, but it's the basic one. It's just information, how you do something, content. Sometimes you actually want to do something. You want to reset a password. You want to change a booking. You want to refund a product. And for those, we have procedures. It's the little steps that an agent or an AI agent or a customer needs to take to get from the question to a solution. And procedures are nice, but if we're talking orders, bookings, customers, you actually need a third element, which is data. You need to know who the customer is. You need to know what they ordered, when they ordered it. And all that context, all that data is also important. And those three key elements, knowledge, procedures, and data together are basically what drives resolutions across our entire product and the entire platform.
Yeah, I love this framework. It's so simple, but it's so true. You need all these things to actually create a resolution, to drive resolutions for customers. So when we think about knowledge, knowledge can live in a lot of places. Knowledge can live, of course, in your help center, but for any modern, large, complex enterprise or any modern business, knowledge often lives in many different destinations. So what are we doing, Zendesk, to make it, what are we doing when it comes to bringing these knowledge sources together? How are we making it easier for people to bring it into one place, Thomas?
If you would ask it a year or two ago, the answer would be we import it all into Zendesk. We have our help center and everything lives there. But as the platform grows, especially with employee service, if you work across teams, you integrate deeper into the company, pulling all the information into the help center isn't always feasible. It already exists in Confluence for IT. Marketing might have the Notion database. Your sales team has knowledge in Salesforce. And instead of copying it all into Zendesk, we're making it easier by adding connectors to Zendesk, where we basically say, hey, we can read your Confluence documents, we can read what's in Notion, or we can read your website. Something we could do in the past already with federated search, but now it's way easier because it's just a checkbox, no more code required. And what we do is we pull all the information into one big knowledge graph, and then our AI agents, our agent Copilot, and even our reporting can look at that data and start answering questions or detecting knowledge gaps where you can improve your content in any of those pieces of content you imported.
Yeah, I'm really excited about knowledge connectors because it means that if you already have knowledge in an existing location, like a marketing website or Confluence, you don't have to recreate it into a separate help center article. You can just pull it in. And Thomas, you said this really quickly, but I kind of want to double click on it. You mentioned, federated search is getting easier. If you've used federated search in the past, this is great. You can pull in content from a marketing website, but in the past you had to work with your web team to add a snippet of code to the website to prove that you own it. What exactly, could you say one more time? How are we making that easier today?
Yeah, so previously we needed to verify ownership. You had to add a little script tag to the top of your website, which on some platforms wasn't even possible. Now we just have one checkbox in our tool. So you basically say, I want to import my website, my weblog. You verify ownership with the checkbox, you press import, and we start indexing all that knowledge, and it becomes immediately available in the AI Agents Essentials or Advanced.
Yeah, it's a small change, but I think that's going to be, I think it's going to remove a lot of headaches for knowledge administrators who don't have to do that extra step with their web teams now. So this is great. Knowledge connectors are amazing. But I know when I talk to customers, sometimes the one thing that comes up is people say, this is great. I want to do all these things with knowledge. I want to feed it into my AI agents, but I don't have a data center. I just literally have nothing. We haven't built this. And the idea of starting from scratch can be very daunting and overwhelming. But we've been doing some things to make this easier. So Thomas, how are we helping teams who have literally no help center? They have nothing today. How are we helping them get started?
Well, the nice thing is you actually don't have nothing. You have a lot in your ticket database. You have probably, depending on where you come from, months, years of data interactions with your customers. And a lot of those conversations contain actual repeatable answers you could put on your help center. In the past, that would mean identifying them, having somebody write the articles, pull all that knowledge out of the tickets. Now, with our knowledge builder, that's way easier. So what we do is we basically index your last 30 days of relevant tickets. You define who you are. Hey, I'm a retail business, I'm an employee service, I'm a travel agency. You define what you do, you define your customer use case, and then we generate 40, 50 articles and an entire structure for your help center on the fly. And that means that instead of writing all the articles, looking up your use cases and building it all, well, we do that for you. And the only thing that's left is read the article, verify it's correct, maybe tweak one or two things and publish it. This will not get you to 100% automation, but at least it will answer the bulk of the recurring questions and will give you a head start at publishing your help center. And then the next step is looking at your data and starting to detect knowledge gaps and then add your own articles and write those. But this is a major way, a very simple way to get started with a help center.
Yeah. I think Knowledge Builder is going to be a game changer, especially if you don't have a help center today. And you're right. If you don't have a help center, it's not true that you don't have anything. You have your existing ticket data. You have your past interactions. And I think back to when I worked in customer service as a customer service engineer, I remember when I would look for an answer for a customer question, if I didn't know the answer and I would search the help center and there was nothing, and then I would search my ticket history and I found an agent had already worked on this. They had the exact answer I needed. That was such a sense of relief. Knowledge Builders leveraging that same information, saying, hey, someone's answered this question before. There already is a way to handle this, and it's automatically building those articles for you. So if you had told me this was possible a year ago, I would say this sounds like magic, but it's really amazing what AI is allowing us to do. And when it comes to taking that existing ticket data and getting started with building a help center from scratch.
And it goes back to the knowledge as infrastructure layer, because instead of hiding it in a ticket, you make it available and then you can grow and build on top of that. So that's a very quick and nice way to get started with that.
Absolutely. So one other thing that I know we've talked about, Thomas, is when it comes to building knowledge, it's not just building it once and then having it be a one and done thing. It's really helping teams become knowledge managers. So for a lot of companies, especially ones who have audiences in multiple countries, multiple languages, it can be a big task to manage such a big help center. There's so many articles. So what are we doing to make it easier for teams to manage knowledge at scale?
Yeah, so for one, we have our reporting where you can detect what we can do better. And once you identify knowledge gaps, articles you want to write, or things you need to add, well, you actually dive into our editor to start writing those articles. And just as I'm going to go to the before and now again, previously that meant writing the entire article, editing it, and then translating it manually into all the languages you have. Now with our AI-powered help center, that's way easier. We've got a couple of writing tools like Expand, which basically takes your bullet points, take your device, turn it off, wait 10 seconds, plug it back in. So the gist of it. And it turns that into a readable, nice article in your tone of voice that fits your company. It doesn't add anything, but it just makes it nice to read instead of just having bullet points. We also do the opposite. When you get something from engineers, very technical thing, it might be perfectly right, but it might not be suitable for your audience. So we can use our tone shift simplify features to turn that very complex text into a more readable, paragraphed with headers, nice readable text. And similarly, not all content is equal. We have tone shift, so we can turn some content very formal, very professional and strict, or make it more casual on the other side. Or if you have multiple people writing content, you can use tone shift to basically make it all fit your company's brand and tone of voice. And also comes to our translations. So where we have now AI translations built in, which means with a click of a button, we take an English article and turn it into French, Spanish, Portuguese, any language you want. What's important there is we don't just blindly translate. You can actually create a list of specific terms for your company that you don't want to have translated. So it really, once again, feels and fits your company's tone of voice. And with all those things, so the AI translations, the expand features, and knowledge builder, what's important there is that we always draft, and it's you as the editor in the help center that clicks the publish button. So you stay in control and you're always sure about what's public, what's indexed by our AI agents is something that you wrote and you approved. And that way you can be sure that the answers are given are right.
Yeah. I think part of what I love about the writing tools is, we've all experienced some of these things. We've all used ChatGPT to expand something or simplify something, but it's so powerful to have it right there in the editor. It just makes writing it and iterating so much faster. And especially if you're dealing with multiple languages, being able to use AI translation and have it take note of what terms are company specific, what should or shouldn't be translated, just makes localization so much more scalable and so much more powerful. So I think these are really huge improvements for knowledge managers. Okay, we've talked about how you build your knowledge base. We talked about connecting external sources. We've talked about managing and translating it. The last thing to do now we have all this great content is get it to the people who need it, which is customers and customer service teams. So how are we delivering this content, Thomas?
Yeah, so there is a lot here. One of the new things we launched is what we call our quick answers. For those that use Google these days, we Google Gemini or use ChatGPT or other ones, you might notice if you ask a question, you get a very short, succinct answer that answers your question. We previously in our help center, when you search, you got a list of articles. You have to read the entire article and then find your answer. What we do now, both on the customer side with quick answers and in the knowledge panel for agents, is any question you ask via search will generate an answer for you. That answer is a few lines long. You can read it. If it answers your question, perfect. If it doesn't, you can either ask follow-up questions or we escalate to an agent or you ask again. But the nice thing is it's less time to read and it's a more concrete answer. So that's a win-win for both customers and agents. The second way, and I already alluded to it, is sometimes one question isn't enough. If you're really investigating something, you might ask a general question, you get a basic answer, and you dive in, you ask more and more and more questions. And that's where our AI agents come in. So when we do conversational support, our AI agents, like we said, pull from those same help center sources. And with our generative replies in AI Agent Essentials and Advanced, the customer can basically interact with our AI agent and get to an answer in a few sets of questions and answers and get there. And on the flip side, if a ticket comes to an agent and the customer asks a question that can be answered with indexed help center articles or other knowledge, we just write an answer for the agent. We do a suggestion, we say, hey, customer, and we propose the answer. And then the agent, still in control, can either just approve the answer or edit it, tweak it a bit, and then send it out. And those are two ways on how we take knowledge and start embedding it in the different workflows we already have in Zendesk.
Yeah. I think part of what's so powerful about this is if you think about it, you're taking knowledge from a help center article and allowing it to go to whatever channel it needs to be on and be represented in that channel in the most accurate way. And Thomas, I know we were talking about this the other day, how this is just such a big change from the way companies have worked in the past, where in the past, maybe you'd write a help center article, but if you need that same information you want in a macro, you'd write a macro. If you need it somewhere else in like a, bot scripted reply, you would have to hard code it into your AI agent's reply. That's 3 different places this information lives. So if you make a change, you have to update it in 3 different places. The beauty of generative replies is people can ask specific questions and get specific answers on each channel, in a way that's formatted most appropriately for that channel, whether it's on messaging, over email. I just feel like it's a huge shift. And I love, actually, we'll make a plug for your blog here in a minute, but I love how you talked about this in your most recent blog article.
And especially across languages, if something changes, you only need to update that one Confluence page or that one website page or that one article, and automatically everything follows with the new update in all your languages. So that's a very nice and quick and automated way to create efficiency.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, cool. So kind of to wrap up our marquee topic here, if you think about knowledge, it no longer is just this destination. It's no longer just a help center. It really lives across your entire platform. And the beauty of having this, all connected within Zendesk is you really build this iterative loop, this learning loop of saying, hey, let's build some content. Let's get it out to our customers. If we see something's not working, we can measure it. We can see where the gaps are. We can improve on it. And you can kind of build this continuous loop of learning and improving. So I think the message here is clear. The more connected and enriched your knowledge is, the more intelligent every Zendesk experience becomes. So there's a lot of stuff that we covered here, Thomas, but if you had to wrap it up into just 3 things for people to do, things that people could try today or this week, what would those 3 things be?
So for one, if you don't have a help center yet, well, as you mentioned, you don't need to answer everything to start winning some games. So test out Knowledge Builder, have your initial set of 40, 50 articles, and get started with using the knowledge to deflect answers. Then, if you already have a help center, we recently enabled like a one-click EAP to add quick answers to any help center, or it's a 1 line of code. And it really takes your existing content and makes it more accessible, which is nice. And if you have other sources that your agents reference, or if you ever tried to play around with federated search in the past, now is a good time to connect your Confluence, your weblog, your website, or any other source to your AI agents.
Cool.
So that's 3.
All right, I love it. All right, that wraps up our marquee topic. I think we should switch gears and jump into our rapid fire section. So we're going to go through a bunch of product updates really quickly, but we've released so many things. Zendesk is constantly pumping out new features, new updates, and if you want to get up to date, we're about to take you through the past month. These are a couple highlights, a couple of our favorite releases. So we're going to go through them really quickly. First up, I have 3 updates for you guys on Copilot. First of all, the first one is custom intent categories. So if you've used intelligent triage, you know that whenever a ticket comes in, you can automatically get the intent extracted so you can use that in your workflows. So if a ticket's coming in where someone says, hey, I have a package, it's the size was wrong, I need to return it, the intent gets categorized as return request. Those models, the intents we had before were built on pre-existing models that we would build. They were awesome, they were industry specific, and they would work for so many companies and so many use cases. But now you can add custom intent categories. This means that there's an intent that's not built into our model. You can add your own category, you can add your own intent. So this is going to be a game changer for companies that are using intelligent triage. Second of all, we have an update to entity detection. Entity detection is a super powerful feature that extracts the entity from a customer's request. So for example, if I said, hey, I need to, we're talking to a company that does cell phone repairs, and I said, hey, I have an issue with my iPhone 15 Pro, I broke the screen. The entity is the iPhone 15 Pro. That can get extracted from the ticket and populated into a field. In the past, if you wanted to do this with entity detection, you had to build a new field for each entity that you wanted to extract. Now you can use this. Now you can do this using existing custom fields. This is a game changer for using entity detection, because oftentimes companies have, customers have custom fields that they've already set up that are being used in existing workflows. So if you have a custom field that you want to populate with an entity, you can do that now without having to create a new field. Last update here on Copilot is we have Copilot recommendation types. So this is on the admin side of Copilot. If you've been using Copilot, you know that it can help you understand what parts of your procedures or what automations are working well and which ones are not working so well. So there's a lot of different recommendation types. There's 15 new ones, but 2 that I want to highlight are, first of all, you can get highlights on unused macros. So if you have a macro and your team just has not used it in over a year, you should probably get rid of it. If you have a bunch of old macros, it just makes it harder for your team to find the one that they're looking for. It just makes things more cluttered. So Copilot will say, hey, you have a macro, no one has used it in the past year, you should consider getting rid of it. I'll highlight it on the screen right here. You'll see a message like this. This macro has not been used in the past year, and you can decide to get rid of it or archive it or delete it. The other thing is the second part. I think this is actually the most powerful, or my favorite of the new recommendation types, is you can get Copilot to say, hey, some of your procedures are not working very well. And this is particularly for Copilot Auto Assist. If you have a Copilot Auto Assist procedure where your agents keep having to take over the ticket, it means that procedure is not working very well. So in this example, we can see our agents had to take over the interaction. They had to take over the ticket 67% of the time. That means this procedure is not working well. So this recommendation is saying, hey, admin, check out this procedure, see if you can improve it so your team doesn't have to keep taking over. So that's 3 quick updates on Copilot. Thomas, over to you.
Okay, so we spoke about knowledge, procedures, and data as drivers for automation. So we got a few updates on the procedure and data part. One of them is Action Builder. So it's a visual workflow builder that basically takes any input, like an updated ticket or an agent Copilot flow, and it goes through a few steps, and you can integrate with external systems, update tickets, and do actions. So for example, if a ticket comes in with a bug in the software, we can just create a Jira ticket for dev automatically. If a VIP customer comes in and we notify or we see that their sentiment goes down, then we can escalate that to their account manager in Slack automatically. So it's all those automated little processes that we can plug in and build with Action Builder. Second one that we launched is App Builder. We all know the sidebar apps in Zendesk give context, show you latest tickets, latest orders, or information about the customer, about your other CRM systems. And in the past, you either had to get them from the marketplace or find a developer to build them for you. Now with App Builder, you can basically describe what the app should do. And we leverage AI models, our knowledge about Zendesk, and our own APIs to basically build those apps for you on the fly. You can iterate on them, you can expand the feature set and build missing features, integrations with your platforms, anything you need to get your agents more efficient. Of course, you don't always need to build every integration from scratch. We've got a couple of ones that we built in-house, like a Shopify one and new or improved Jira integration. That one is completely built from scratch. It now supports multiple instances. Finally, there is an improved ticket field view. There is an easier admin integration, so everything can now be done within Zendesk. You don't need to go across both tools anymore. And there is better syncing for fields between the two tools. So that will make those people that use it a lot happier. Okay, Jeremy, next set.
All right, we also have a couple updates on the data governance side. So first one is data masking. Data masking lets you set up rules and roles for certain custom groups of agents. So if you have a custom role for certain teams of support agents and you don't want them to see certain PII, personal identifiable information, you can now mask that information. So for example, if you have a group of agents and you don't want them to be able to see things like the name, email, or phone number on a ticket, you'll get a screenshot like this where you'll see that it just says name is hidden. People will not see this information if they are in that custom role. This does not mean deleting the data from the backend. It just means masking it so certain roles cannot see it. Second of all, we have deletion schedules. So in particular, I want to talk about the use case for this, where you can set up a deletion schedule for getting rid of ticket attachments. Now, this is great for 2 reasons. One is for reducing storage. So if you have a lot of attachments on old tickets, that's eating away at your storage quota. And of course, with every Zendesk plan, there's a limit to how much storage you have. So if you get rid of attachments on old tickets, that's a great way to make sure you're not bumping up against the ceiling on your storage quota. You can set this up to say when a ticket's been archived for more than 120 days, delete all the attachments. That's the first use case. The second use case for just freeing up storage is you can also get rid of attachments that might have sensitive information. So if customers had to submit a picture of their driver's license or a tax form or anything like that, you don't want to keep that sensitive information along any longer than you need to for security and privacy reasons. So this is just a great way to clean up those old attachments. And the last update here is on Sandbox version management. So if you're using sandboxes, they're getting a lot more powerful with some of our version management capabilities. So for one, you can take snapshots now, so you can have different versions, marking certain key times you had your sandbox set up in a specific way. And also what I'm really excited about is our comparison tool. So if you have two different snapshots at two different times, you can pull them both up and you can see what are the differences between those instances or those versions of your sandbox. You know exactly what changed, which makes it a lot easier to see what was adjusted and make you more confident knowing which version you want to restore if you need to do so. So that's the updates on the security side. Over to you, Thomas.
Okay, thanks. So on the analytics side, which is important in the sense that we can have all the knowledge, processes, and data as you want, but if you don't know how we're doing and what we're doing, we're kind of flying blind. So these are important. And what's even more important is having the information at hand immediately, because instead of fixing it afterwards, we can maybe prevent some things from happening by getting the insights immediately. So one of them is our new real-time monitoring that we have, which gives you live, immediate insights in how many tickets are in which queue, how your messaging is doing, how voice is doing, how busy your agents are, who has free time, who hasn't. You can really get insights in what's going on, and then push maybe more people to go online for messaging if those queues are getting a little bit backlogged. So that's nice. Second one is and that's a really nice new one, is our real-time QA. So in QA, we have always had our dashboards that gave insights in what are customers feeling, churn risks, and all those like deep, how are we doing questions there. With real-time QA, you get that data immediately as the ticket is evolving. So if a conversation is going on, either as an agent or as a team lead who's supervising the team, if a ticket goes bad, if a customer is maybe leaking personal information, or if there is a churn risk, or if we're solving tickets, but actually we haven't solved every question yet, we can get real-time alerts within the app thanks to QA. And we can plug those into, for example, Action Builder to notify someone, or we can just reopen the ticket via trigger with internal note, and you can really start acting on what you're actually doing with the tickets and then improve the conversation or the interaction as you go. The third one is from our WFM product. There we have new performance boards, which give you deep insights in how your team is performing and how they compare to each other. So things like how many tickets do they get assigned to them, how are they handling them, how fast are they responding, all those other metrics. You can score those, you can give them a number, value, and those are all counted up. And that way you can basically see within your team how your agents are doing and how they compare to each other. Here you go.
All right. And that brings us to the end of the rapid fire section. There you have it. So there's a couple things I just want to share with you guys so you know the best way to stay up to date when new features are released from Zendesk. And there's 3 things that I think you should do. First of all, go to the announcements section of our help center, and you can follow this topic. And anytime a new announcement comes out, you'll get an email notification letting you know about this. By the way, all 3 of these things are linked in the resources section of the webinar console right now. So open up these 3 links and follow these 3 things. So that's the first one. That's the announcement section. Secondly is the what's new section of our help center. This is a monthly updated page where each month, the first week of the month, we publish a new summary. That's a monthly summary of what happened over the past month. Again, you can get this delivered to your inbox if you click follow on this section. And then lastly, we have internal note. This is a Zendesk blog where Thomas is the main author and he's writing weekly topics, weekly blog posts. In fact, if you go check it out right now, you'll see that one of the most recent topics was on knowledge. So if you like what we talked about earlier, check out Thomas's blog for even more info on that. Be sure to subscribe so you get notified whenever Thomas writes a new blog article. That brings us to the end of our webinar. So that's what's new with Zendesk. Thank you so much for joining. Have a great rest of your day.